Okay, so we're starting off our lessons for February 11th and February 12th with our warm-up, which is going to be labeled Warm-Up 211 to 212. We have a passage to read, The Dual Alliance of 1879 between Austria-Hungary and Germany. Article 1. Should one of the two empires be attacked by Russia, the parties are bound to come to the assistance one of the other the whole war strength of their empires, and accordingly only to conclude peace together and upon mutual agreement. So Article 1 states that if they're attacked by Russia, if either of them are attacked by Russia, the other has to come with everything they have, and they'll work together to defeat Russia and only end the war with Russia when they both agree to. Article 2. Should one of the parties be attacked by another power, the other party binds itself hereby not only not to support the aggressor against its ally, but to observe at least a benevolent neutral attitude towards its fellow party. So, if any other country besides Russia were to attack Germany or Austria-Hungary, then the other has to at least be like, y'all, we're neutral, but I mean, can't you see our friend is clearly in the right here? They're great. Let them be great. So they can't support the other. They're just going to tag team anybody, basically. Article 3. The duration of this treaty shall be provisionally fixed at 5 years from the day of ratification, 1 year before the expiration of this period. The two parties shall consult together concerning the question whether the conditions serving as the basis of the treaty still prevail, and reach an agreement to regard to the further continuance or possible modification. If in the course of the first month of the last year of the treaty, no invitation has been received from either side to open these negotiations, the treaty shall be considered as renewed for a further 3 years. So they're going to fix it at 5 years, but at the start of the 4th year, or the start of the last year of the treaty, they're supposed to get together and see if they need to change things, extend it. But if they don't get together, say because they're at war, it'll be renewed for 3 more years. Article 4. This treaty shall, in conformity with its peaceful character and to avoid any misinterpretation, be kept secret by the two parties and only be communicated to a third party upon a joint understanding between the two parties and according to the terms of a special agreement. So they're going to keep this quiet from everybody, and they'll only tell somebody about their treaty if they both agree to, and they got to agree on everything. Now, we're going to go to the next slide, which has our directions. Read the passage, and we're going to define the following terms. So, as we did last class, highlight, tools, dictionary. So our definition for empire: an extensive group of states or countries under a single supreme authority. So an extensive group of states or countries under a single supreme authority. Then we can do aggressor. A person or country that attacks another first. A person or country that attacks another first. Benevolent. Well-meaning and kindly. And ratification. The action of signing or giving formal consent to a treaty. The action of signing or giving formal consent to a treaty. And then we have 3 instructions. Highlight in green the sentence that states how long the treaty will last. So how we're going to do that is we're going to go back here. We're going to reread until we find the sentence where it talks about how long the treaty is going to last. So, should one of the 2 empires be attacked by Russia, the parties are bound to come to the assistance, one of the other, with the whole war strength of the empires, and accordingly only to conclude peace together and upon mutual agreement. Should one of the parties be attacked by another power, the other party binds itself hereby not only to not support the aggressor against its ally, but to observe at least a benevolent neutral attitude towards its fellow party. The duration, which means time, of this treaty shall be provisionally fixed at 5 years from the day of ratification. So I'm going to highlight that part like that. And then you see this little highlighting part. It said green, so we're going to click the bright green, and there we go. Now, you're going to find the sentence that states what they are to do if they are attacked by Russia, highlight that in yellow, and then highlight in blue the sentence that states how secret the treaty should be kept. Okay, so last class we talked about sort of Europe before the war. This class we are going to talk about what happens on the outbreak of war. What is the spark, and how does the fighting progress? So, the assassination of Archduke Franz Ferdinand. So, Archduke Franz Ferdinand was next in line for the Austrian Empire. He visited Sarajevo to view military maneuvers and trainings. Serbian nationalists saw the Austria-Hungary Empire as oppressive and desired a single united Slavic state. So remember we talked about those ethnic groups. They wanted to combine all of the Slavic people under one state, Yugoslavia. A member of the Black Hand, which was an extreme Serbian nationalist terrorist group, assassinated the Archduke and his wife. But we need to bring up the fact that despite being next in line for the Empire of Austria-Hungary, Ferdinand had been a tempering influence in Austria-Hungary and had convinced his uncle, the emperor, to stay out of war. With his death, the generals in Austria-Hungary had no one to silence them, and most of the generals in Austria-Hungary wanted war. They wanted to fight everybody. So Austria declares war. After the assassination, Germany and its Kaiser Wilhelm II gave Austria-Hungary a blank check in accordance to that treaty we went over with our warm-up. So this blank check, basically, it wasn't a real check. It was, Kaiser Wilhelm II said, okay, y'all do whatever you want and we'll support you no matter what you do. And then Austria started doing a lot. So there were frantic talks to try and keep war from happening. So I think we'll go over it in the video we're going to watch together. And then, but you'll see that King George V of England, Tsar Nicholas II of Russia, and Kaiser Wilhelm II of Austria-Hungary were all first cousins, so they'll be talking back and forth. Everybody's trying to be like, oh God, what is Austria doing? What is Serbia doing? We need to stop this. Let's calm down. Austria goes YOLO, and despite calls for peace, Austria declares war on Serbia, July 28th of 1940. This leads to other countries declaring war in August of 1914 in accordance with their treaties. So I don't believe this will play well. So I want you guys to play it on your screen as well, watch it, and then come back for some commentary later. But we'll see. All kind of doing their own thing. And this is just a little glimpse of some of the dudes that we'll be talking about. Kaiser Wilhelm II of Germany, King George V of Britain, Tsar Nicholas II, Russia, King Albert I of Belgium. He's not very important for our lessons, but he's a really cool dude because when Germany invades Belgium, he sticks with his army. He leads his army the entire time instead of like probably could have gone off and hung out in Britain during that time. Then we have the Prime Minister, who's more of the head of government than King George. Prime Minister David Lloyd George of Britain and President Woodrow Wilson of America. So the fighting begins. Okay. So what's going on after Germany enters Belgium? We have two fronts, the Western Front and the Eastern Front. The Western Front is going to be primarily through France, Belgium, this area. The Eastern Front is going to be Germany, Austria, and Hungary. And Austria, Hungary, and Russia. Ooh. So we have our major battles, which are the Battle of the Marne, the Battle of Verdun, which was a long, costly battle that lasted for almost a year. And then the Battle of Somme, which there were over 1 million casualties. That was death and injured. So Germany in 1914 advances to just north of Paris, this green line. They do eventually get pushed back to this purple line in 1918, and the armistice line in 1918 becomes this yellow line. What did I do? Oh my God. And what's important to know about this war is the extreme use of wartime, the new technology that happens and appears. We see the first use of tanks, and trench warfare. Trenches are those things you build and you hide in. With tanks, fighter pilots, the first time we have war in the air. We have chemical warfare and the use of gas and gas masks. We have machine guns and long-range missiles that are like basically an advancement from cannons, but they're super powerful now. Another video. New technologies that created a different type of war that hadn't been seen in the world before. New technologies were results of an arms race between countries, and there was a glorification of war. So, and then with all this, we not only have a Western Front, but we have an Eastern Front as well. And the major battle is going to be the Battle of Tannenberg, a major defeat for Russia. So Russia lost. There were a lot of casualties. And this is sort of what sparks the Russian Revolution and takes Russia out of the war. So all of a sudden, Germany doesn't really have to worry about Russia, and they can focus all of their efforts on the Western Front, which is going to be France, Belgium, and those countries. And that is where we're going to stop for today. We're going to go to our assignment, which is about the technology of World War I. Okay, so we're going to talk a little more specifically about the different technologies that started in World War I. We're going to do some multiple choice, short answer, and a long answer. So, number 1, what country in World War I first developed chemical weapons like mustard gas and chlorine gas? Okay, that's going to be D, Germany. German submarines were called Q-boats. False, they were called U-boats. Aircraft in the beginning of World War I was primarily used for B, reconnaissance and spying on enemy movements. 4, what advantage did tanks have over horses on the battlefield? A, tanks were heavily armored and could travel over rough terrain. 5, the use of machine guns made troop movements difficult and was a primary weapon in trench warfare. A, true. So what advantage did Germany have in the creation of chemical weapons? So what do you guys think? I want to see what kind of, we didn't really discuss this, so just give me your best guess. Then list and describe 2 advancements and innovations that were the results of World War I. So look back at those pictures we talked about and pick 2 of them. What was one innovation created as a response to the use of another innovation? So what did they make to combat chemical warfare, the thing that goes over their head? And describe one change in the way fighting took place in World War I compared to past conflicts. Think about the types of machines and the defensive things and what was going on in the trenches. Oops. And then finally, in a one-paragraph response, explain how technology changed World War I and describe the advantages and disadvantages created by technology. So I want y'all to work on this one by yourself. And I want to see what you come up with. And that's what we're doing today.